The Type 61 Rokuichi Shiki Sensha, was a main battle tank, MBT, developed and used by the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, JGSDF, built by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Development started in 1955 and the vehicle was first deployed in April 1961. The type number follows the year of deployment. A total of 560 Type 61s were manufactured between 1961 and 1975, when production ceased. It was succeeded by the Type 74. History. After World War II, Japan was ordered to cease all military manufacturing and development plants, resulting in Japan losing the technology needed to build and manufacture tanks and armored vehicles. However, due to the Korean War, the Supreme Commander of the Allied powers ordered Japan to remilitarize, forming Armed Police Forces, National Police Reserve, later called National Security Force, then finally Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, and provided M4A3E8 Sherman and M24 Chaffee tanks. However, the average height of a Japanese tank crew member at the time was too small for the large interior of the American Sherman, and most Japanese tank drivers had difficulty reaching the clutch pedal with their foot. In addition, the Sherman was already becoming obsolete. The Chaffee, even though it was quite popular among Japanese tank crews, was inadequate when facing Soviet T-34/85s as seen in Korea. Thus, as the tanks in JGSDF service at the time were either obsolete, inadequate, or unsuitable, the JGSDF was provided with the option of either purchasing the new American-built M46 Patton, and later the M47 Patton, or developing their own MBT in 1954. Due to the high cost of purchasing American-made tanks, and because the M47 did not meet their requirements, the JGSDF decided on developing their own main battle tank, resulting in the development of the Type 61. Development. The original requirements were: in order to effectively use a small number of tanks to cover a large area, the size and weight of the tank has to be light enough for trains to carry. Due to the above target, the weight of the armor has to be limited around 25 tons yet as heavily armored as possible. Main cannon has to be 90 mm. Weight was one of the main concerns, since if the first constraint was met, the tank could also be transported by a specially modified truck through most major highways and tunnels in Japan. The second constraint couldn't be met due to the mock-up development team finding that the armor would be too thin to protect the vehicle. As a result, the armor weight constraint was raised to 35 tons for a while. However, due to delays in the production of the planned diesel engine, the tank did not have enough power to attain good mobility. As a result, the weight of the armor was reduced. The final constraint was due to the light body build of Japanese people at that time. After examining the M36 Jackson, 90 mm ammunition was felt to be the upper limit of what an average Japanese tanker could handle effectively. Additionally, due to the mountainous landscape of Japan, it was unlikely that long-range engagements would occur frequently and it was thought that a 90 mm gun would be sufficient. The first test vehicles, STA-1, completed in December 1956, and STA-2, completed in February 1957, were built and tested. The results were used to develop the STA-3, completed in January 1960, and STA-4, completed in November 1959, in 1960. More improvements were made in 1961, and deployment of the Type 61 began the same year. The initial production rate was low, with only 10 tanks produced in 1961 and 1962, increasing to 20 in 1964 and 30 in 1965 and 1966. A total of 250 had been produced by 1970, with production continuing at an increased pace until 1975, when it was terminated. A total of 560 were produced. The tanks were phased out of service in the 1990s, with 400 in service in 1990 and 190 in service in 1995. All were decommissioned by 2000, 39 years after their original deployment. During this period, the the Type 61 received minor upgrades in the form of infrared searchlights and slash or smoke dischargers. From 1980, Type 61s began to be supplemented by the more modern Type 74 MBT. Description: the Type 61 is conventionally laid out, with the central turret and the engine located at the rear of the hull. The tank has a crew of 4, a commander, driver, gunner, and loader. The hull is welded steel, with a cast steel turret. The maximum armor thickness is quoted as 64 mm. The driver sits at the front right of the hull, with a hatch immediately above him, and 3 vision periscopes covering the forward arc. To the driver's left is the transmission, which can be accessed for servicing by removing a large panel on the front of the hull. The commander and gunner sit in the turret on the right side, with the commander provided with a large domed cupola with a hatch on the rear of it. The cupola has 4 vision blocks, which are angled upward, and a 1 meter base stereoscopic rangefinder with x7 magnification. A 12.7 mm machine gun was normally mounted on the cupola for anti-aircraft use. The gunner does not have a hatch and is seated forward of the commander. The gunner has a x6 magnification periscope, as well as a x6 magnification sight. The main gun was the Type 61 90 mm caliber rifled gun with a horizontal sliding breech block. The gun is fitted with a T-shaped muzzle brake, which diverts firing gases sideways, and reduces the amount of dust kicked up by firing. A coaxial 7.62 mm machine gun is mounted next to the gun. The loader is provided with a small hatch, which has a small flap in it for ejecting spent shell cases by hand. Storage is provided for 18 rounds in the bustle at the rear of the turret, with additional rounds being distributed in various positions inside the tank. A tool storage box was normally mounted externally on the rear of the bustle, and 3 smoke grenade launchers were mounted on each side of the turret. 2 large radio antennae were also attached to the rear of the bustle. The tank was powered by a 570 horsepower Mitsubishi HM21WT V12 turbocharged diesel mounted at the rear of the hull and exhausting through pipes on either side of the rear of the hull. The engine is coupled to a Mitsubishi manual transmission system which uses a controlled differential steering system. The track is driven from the front, and has 6 rubber road wheels on each side along with 3 return rollers. The suspension is a torsion bar system with the first, second, and 6th road wheel fitted with hydraulic shock absorbers. The main gun is unstabilized, so firing on the move was impractical, and the vehicle is not fitted with an NBC protection system or deep weighting equipment. Variants: Type 67 AVLB, Armored Vehicle Launch Bridge, 6.7. Type 70 ARV, Armored Recovery Vehicle, 7.0. Operators: Japan, 560 in service between 1961 and 2000. Type Main Battle Tank. Place of origin Japan. Service history: in service 1961-2000. Production history: Designer Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Designed 1955-1960. Manufacturer Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Produced 1961-1975. No built 560. Variants: see variants. Specifications: weight 35 tons. Length 8.19/6.03 m. Width 2.95 m. Height 2.49 m. Crew 4. Armor 55 mm, hull 114 mm, turret. Main armament: 90 mm L/52 rifled cannon. Muzzle velocity 910 m/s, M318 APT. Secondary armament: 7.62 mm Browning M1919A4 machine gun. 12.7 mm M2 Browning machine gun. Engine: Mitsubishi 12HM21WT 4-stroke V-type 12-cylinder vertical air-cooled diesel. 570 HP/2100 RPM, 29,600 cubic centimeters. Power/weight 17.14 HP/ton. Suspension torsion bar. Operational. Range 200 kilometers. Speed 45 kilometers per hour, paved roads.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.